Welcome to Star Watch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Sometimes, love doesn't need a stage, just the courage to speak. Tonight, the veil lifted. Behind the calm eyes of a global icon, Xiao Zhan, a quiet storm of truth finally broke through. No red carpet, no drama promotion, no pre-approved script, just a soft voice and a message that millions around the world had been waiting years to hear. Welcome back to Star Watch Now, where we don't just report the news, we tell the stories that move you. It began quietly, without warning. Xiao Zhan appeared on a casual live stream. No fanfare, no media alert, no background music to soften the silence. His tone was calm, almost meditative, as if he hadn't planned to reveal anything at all. But something in his voice, in the stillness between words, felt different that evening. It wasn't the usual light-hearted interaction fans had grown used to. There was a weight to it, a softness but also an urgency. For someone who had always kept his private life hidden behind the shield of professionalism and politeness, what happened next was nothing short of extraordinary. "I'm not someone who talks easily about emotions," he began, almost apologetically. His eyes were lowered, his fingers lightly fidgeting with the hem of his sleeve. You could tell he wasn't performing. There was no mask, no character, just the man himself, vulnerable and present. Then came the shift in his voice. A pause, a breath, and then, without theatrics, he said what no fan expected to hear so openly. "There's someone who's been part of my life for a long time. He's not just a friend. He's more than that." He didn't say the name. He didn't need to. The moment those words fell into the silence, every person watching knew exactly who he meant. It was Wang Yibo. The two had shared the screen years ago in the Untamed, but what connected them went far beyond their on-screen roles. The chemistry, the shared glances, the mutual understanding that fans had been dissecting and celebrating for years. All of it was no longer speculation. In that single moment, Xiao Zhan didn't just confirm a relationship. He acknowledged a connection that had endured quietly, patiently, and deeply. What made the confession even more powerful was its restraint. There was no oversharing, no sensationalism. He wasn't seeking approval, nor was he trying to make a statement for headlines. It was as if he was speaking to one person, not millions. And yet, everyone watching felt it. The truth didn't need to be loud. It was in the tremble of his voice, the gentleness of his words, the courage it took just to say them. And in doing so, Xiao Zhan gave his fans, and perhaps even himself, permission to feel, to acknowledge the beauty of something real, even if it remains unspoken by name. He offered a moment of authenticity in an industry often driven by illusion. It wasn't just about love. It was about honesty, about finally letting the heart speak, even if only in whispers. That night, he didn't just reveal something personal. He reminded the world that vulnerability is strength, and that sometimes the most powerful declarations are the ones wrapped in silence. From the moment Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo first appeared on screen together in the Untamed, something shifted. Viewers across the world sensed it. Something beneath the surface, something unspoken yet deeply felt. Their characters, soul-bound in a universe of silence and destiny, reflected a kind of chemistry that couldn't be choreographed. But it was off-screen, in the fleeting moments between takes, in interviews, and in unscripted glances, that a more profound connection seemed to take root. It was never announced, never clarified, but it was always there. Evident in the pauses that lasted just a little too long, in the quiet understanding that seemed to pass between them without a word. They didn't seek attention. In fact, they did the opposite. Both men, known for their restraint and professionalism, kept their personal lives carefully guarded. And yet, the silence spoke volumes. Fans, drawn not only to the beauty of their characters but to the authenticity they sensed behind the scenes, began to believe in something real. Not because they were told to, but because they felt it, because it felt honest. Over the years, countless clips surfaced. Subtle gestures, soft smiles, brief but telling moments. At award shows, in backstage videos, and during fan events, there was a consistent thread. A mutual respect, a quiet closeness, a sense that each man offered the other a rare kind of comfort in a world that never stops watching. Nothing overt was ever shared, but what mattered most wasn't what was said. It was what wasn't. The unguarded warmth. The moments where formality gave way to familiarity. Their story, if you could call it that, was never defined by grand declarations. Instead, it was built quietly. One glance, one gesture, one unspoken word at a time. And in that silence, something sacred formed. It wasn't just about two actors who worked well together. It was about two souls who seemed to understand each other in a way that defied expectation. In a world where everything is recorded, posted, and dissected, their connection was something rare, real, delicate, and beyond performance. Not just co-stars, not just friends. Something more. Something that, even without confirmation, never stopped feeling true. There are moments in life when silence carries more weight than 1,000 declarations. For Xiao Zhan and Wang Yibo, silence was never emptiness. It was presence, tension, understanding. In an industry where every gesture is captured, analyzed, and often exaggerated, the space between words became their quiet language. It wasn't avoidance, it was a kind of protection. They never denied, never confirmed. Yet the emotional thread connecting them never unraveled. Over the years, fans clung not to statements but to moments. Those quiet instances where their eyes met for just a second too long, or when one would subtly wait for the other to catch up after an interview. These were not scripted performances or fan-driven illusions. They were human, tender, and unmistakably real. Silence, in their case, wasn't used to hide, it was used to hold. To preserve something that perhaps words would only diminish. In Xiao Zhan's recent livestream, that silence finally shifted. Not shattered, but softened. He did not break it with noise, but with honesty. With a gentle truth spoken as if it had been waiting to come out for years. And suddenly all the fragments, the glances, the gifts, the stillness made sense. The truth was never absent. It had always been there, resting patiently within the silence they had chosen to honor. Their connection was never loud, and it never needed to be. It grew not in headlines but in the quiet spaces between appearances. For those who watched closely, who listened with more than just ears, the truth had always been there, unspoken but undeniable. Sometimes, love doesn't ask to be seen. It simply waits to be understood. After Xiao Zhan's quiet confession, the world waited. Not for confirmation in words, but for a sign, any sign, that what was spoken had been received, felt, and perhaps even returned. And Wang Yibo, in the way that only he could, answered not with noise, but with stillness. He didn't go live. He didn't issue a statement. Instead, he chose something far more intimate, far more powerful. He posted a single image. A black and white photo of a motorcycle helmet, worn but carefully preserved, resting gently on a wooden chair. No caption, no explanation, just one simple sentence. Some things don't need words. But those 6 words struck deeper than any declaration. Because for those who had followed their journey, that helmet meant everything. It was a gift once exchanged quietly, a symbol of trust, of shared time, of something deeply personal. In that moment, Wang Yibo wasn't just acknowledging Xiao Zhan's truth, he was honoring it, responding not with spectacle, but with memory, with an object that had once carried meaning between them and now spoke louder than anything he could have typed. It was his way of saying, I heard you, I remember, and I still carry it with me. There was no need for further explanation. The silence that once held their story now became a sanctuary for it. What was once hidden in glances was now carried in symbols. And in that still image, Wang Yibo said everything about loyalty, about love, and about how some bonds are not made to be displayed but to be protected. In choosing restraint over noise, he turned a simple post into something sacred. A reminder that when something is real, it doesn't need to shout. It simply endures. Within minutes, #EganLives and #The Untamed Reel exploded across platforms. Reaction videos poured in from Seoul to San Francisco, from Bangkok to Berlin. Thousands wrote messages like, "I believed, and now I feel seen." This is more than fan service. This is real. Across cultures, across languages, people wept, smiled, and shared. Because love, when real, speaks to everyone. There's no official statement from their studios. No scheduled joint appearance. But maybe that's okay. Because now, fans are doing more than just shipping a couple. They're celebrating vulnerability, emotional honesty, and what it means to be truly seen. Fan groups around the world are launching art exhibitions inspired by quiet love, charity events themed on connection and kindness. Even a short film competition called Unspoken, inspired by their story. Love is growing not just between them but in us. This wasn't a scandal. It wasn't fanfiction come to life. This was a moment of truth in a world full of noise. A quiet man finally said what his heart had whispered for years. And another, equally silent, answered back without saying a word. That's not just romance. That's courage. That's connection. That's the kind of story that reminds us, real love doesn't always need permission. It just needs to be felt. If your heart was moved by this story, if you believe in love that doesn't need to shout, if you still get chills when you hear his words, Glowing Star, subscribe to Star Watch now, because we'll keep bringing you the stories that make you feel. Not gossip, not noise, but truth. Bell, hit that bell. Speech balloon and tell us in the comments. What does love mean to you, even if it's never spoken? From all of us at Star Watch now, thank you for watching. And remember, some of the most beautiful stories begin in silence.